Welcome to Hay Group's PayNet training session for the U.S. National Database. My name is Janice Boyle. Together we'll spend this time walking through PayNet, which is our online global platform delivering high-quality compensation and benefits information. The starting point is the URL, haygrouppaynet.com, which brings you to our public page shown here. Each one of our subscribers has their own username and password, which is case sensitive, which each user would have received an email with their login details. You sign in within this area here, and it will bring you to the home page. After you log on, you're now brought to my home page, which is customized for each organization. Within my home page, you now have 6 different windows. It's a nice summary of all the different tabs available here at the top. Within the first section under announcements, this is more of our means of communicating to our subscribers. You'll see a list of events or updates to the databases. So these are announcements which could be deleted after they're read. Below that, under deferred queries and saved queries, we'll talk about those 2 areas in a bit. But those 2 areas are really tied into the functionality of PayNet. So deferred queries specifically, if you are in our database and are running maybe a large query, PayNet is programmed to insert that query into a queue so that you can continue running additional analyses, more of a time saver. Right below that, saved queries, you might be in a situation where you might market price a job frequently throughout the year, or may use a database for a specific grades-based analysis a couple times. If that's the case, you can save the query and launch it from my home page within this box here. For those of you that have reports, whether they be specific to another country or US, all of the reports can be accessed within any of these hyperlinks here, which again are specific to your company's subscription. For those folks that have international subscriptions, whether it be through PayNet International, core databases, senior roles, or master databases, those can be accessed within the first top box under International. But for today's training session, we're really going to spend most of our time under National, locating the U.S. professional database. If you have access to multiple countries, this particular section is listed in alphabetical order. Once you find the U.S. database, you'll notice that there's 2 actual data sets as part of your subscription. The first one is the Executive Managerial Professional Level database. So this is our common database where you might spend most of your time market pricing your professional as well as executive level jobs. But it also includes the local level positions specific to the metro areas and where you can slice and dice the market there as well. But most of our time will be spent here under Executive Managerial Professional, and you can follow the same steps for local market positions too. Simply click on the hyperlink, and I'll take you away from homepage and into National. Within National, you can run your query, literally moving from left to right using the tabs shown here, starting with Market and ending Results. This is more of a point and click feature, so there's no need to key in any data or use your keyboard. You're literally using your mouse. Beginning with a market, you have 1 of 2 options, defining a peer group or defining your custom market, indicated by the spin dials here at the top. Some organizations prefer a peer group. An example could be if they prefer a global top 200 peer group, which is based on Fortune's global annual rankings, so they can pick the best of the best companies, more of a cross-sector approach using this option. But more commonly for the U.S. PayNet National Database, folks tend to define and slice and dice their market. We're talking about a national database, so here I'm starting with geography. You'll have a list of all the states listed in alphabetical order and also categorized by region, followed by industry. There's over 20 industries to choose from, including manufacturing, professional services, chemicals, retailers, and financial services. And then the last 3 buckets, number of employees, ownership, and unit revenue. These are standard buckets based on how our organizations provide data to the database. And you can choose multiple options by simply holding the control button and highlighting the areas that you wish. Just as a side tip, it's always best to start with your market using all approach, letting everything default to all. That way you can get a good sense of the sample size before you start slicing and dicing the market. A nice tip here, also inventory check button. This is a good indicator, just kind of gives you a heads up so that when you're running a query and following the steps here, you'll have a good sense as far as what kind of sample size to expect before you get to the results. So green would indicate full percentiles, your P10 through P90. Yellow would indicate you at least get median or average. Red indicates there wouldn't be any data to expect at the results, so either broaden your market or change your scope. All I'm going to do is simply click the next button after I made my indication. And as you can see, it took us away from market to approach. So as I said, literally moving from left to right. Now within the approach, you'll notice 4 options. We have a good variety of clients who utilize the job evaluation system and those who are pure market pricers. So PayNet can really accommodate everyone. Just to give you an overview of these 4 options, specifically for the US, over here on the right-hand side, job pricing. So this is the common approach of using our benchmark job model against your jobs, making sure there's a good 80% of your job description to our job description, common market pricing approach. Over here on the left-hand side, job mapping. This is really beneficial for those organizations who may not use a job evaluation system, but have maybe gone through the job mapping exercise with us, typically an in-person meeting where we help you map your jobs specifically that you may not be able to find in any common job model. Within job mapping, you're able to take advantage of the database by the combination of a Hay Group reference level and family. And then more commonly, for those that are job evaluation or Hay Group point users, you have the option of running a grades-based analysis or entering a high and low point range. So at this point, you can choose one of the 4. For our example and training session today, let's pick job pricing and simply indicate so and click next. After you click next, it takes you to the 3rd tab, and now we're looking at more families. And within families, you'll see a full list of over 50 job families, of which 15 are actually cross-industry. The list is first organized by executives, grouped by all the cross-industry. There's about over 15 here, listed in alphabetical order. Following the 15 cross-industry, you'll start to see industry-specific, first beginning with financial services, followed by insurance, next health insurance, and the remaining list of manufacturing, energy, life sciences, and retail. So as you can see, the benefit of a database is a top to bottom job, all jobs, all levels. So for our example, I'm going to scroll back up to the top and let's choose finance and accounting. The 2 fields here at the bottom, because PayNet is a global platform, these could be applicable for different countries, but for the US, you can always ignore these 2 sections. We're going to select a job. Again, here's your inventory check button, and simply click next. After we click next, we moved away from families and now to jobs. We're now looking at the finance and accounting job model matrix. Now the nice thing about our job model, as you can see here, is that beyond having just a list of job titles and job codes, within the finance and accounting family, and this is also applicable for every family, our job model is organized by subfamilies, so accounting, audit, taxation, financial planning, and analysis. And in addition to that, all of our jobs are underpinned by the job evaluation method. So yes, we can see a full list of job titles and job codes, but on the left-hand side, we also see a corresponding list of reference levels tied into each of the jobs listed here within the matrix. For functionality purposes, you can take a look at job title, job code, click on the hyperlink. Just make sure your pop-up blocker is deactivated. Once you click on the hyperlink, you'll then see again the job title, job code, reference level, and the full job description, which correlates back to our survey job model when folks go through the data submission process. So best practice, read through the job description, make sure it's a good 80% match. If it is, you could indicate this is a good match by clicking on the box. And finally, one last note, all of the job titles and job codes are globally consistent. So even if you have access to another country, say China, UK, or Russia, the job codes will be the same for those countries as well. We can then use our inventory check button. We're now expecting full percentiles, and all we do is click next. Following next, we're now at the end under analysis concepts, otherwise known as choosing our compensation elements. Within the U.S. PayNet National Database, there's over 18 compensation elements to choose from, ranging from base salary all the way down through total remuneration, so you can obtain a full picture. There's a nice reference sheet here, view definitions. Within view definitions, it'll give you a nice reference sheet to show you the compensation elements along with brief descriptions for each one, should you have any questions about the meaning of each definition. You can close out this window. Let's say, for instance, we want to take a look at base salary. I can use the control button and select multiple choices. Maybe let's choose base salary, total cash, and target incentive payments. You can now have a few options. You could choose common company data, or you can change your weighting if you wish. Reason for query would not be applicable for our current subscribers. I'm logged in as myself. And in the event that you wish for all the data extracted from our database, this is a functionality built in for Hay Group users. So as part of the service, we can extract the data for you. But at this point, I'm just going to click Generate Results. When we click Generate Results, we're now under the Results tab, so we're at the end of our analysis. A couple nice things here we can look at together. The first tab under Results, there's one of three, Batch and Save. So within Batch and Save, if you remember when we were talking about the home page, you could save this query, so it'll be saved for you right within the beginning page under Home page. Or you can add this to a batch. So in the event you're in a PayNet session, you can run as many queries as you wish, and as a time saver, you can save them as a batch and export later into one Excel file. Under the Interact section, here, I'll just scroll down, you can see within this table your market data, your percentiles on the left, followed by your compensation elements you had chosen. There's three options, or actually three screens here. We can choose navigation for the next page. The second page gives you an audit trail. So it confirms which database you're in, as well as the effective date, update date, and your market criteria. The third page is a market context report. Each of these is specific to the country you're in. So as I launch this hyperlink, it'll take us to the US. And within the US, you'll see a full contextual report, high-level information regarding the economy as well as politics. And as you scroll down, you'll see economic indicators, common practices, including statutory benefits, retirement, sick pay, unions, education, military service, as well as typical market pay information. So good relevant information here, not specific to actual market data, but good contextual information. We can close out of here. So that's what's contained in a series of the three screens. When we go back to the main screen, we now have a couple of options. We can transform the data if we wish, or interact with the data. You could select custom percentiles, for instance. You can choose 66 as an example. second option here, you can increase or decrease the data. For instance, you can have a position that requires, you might want to pay a premium or you might want to discount the job. You can do so here. You could, of course, change the currency, but you can also compare this against maybe one of your incumbents' actual base salary. Simply click Apply Changes, and you'll notice the bottom table change. After you click Apply Changes, notice now the changes we've applied. 66 is now a percentile we've added. Also, we've applied the 2%. And also, we have a compa ratio for base salary and total cash, comparing this against an incumbent that's at $70,000. If we wanted to undo this change, we just simply click Reset. And the last piece of functionality at the end of the results is exporting. Some folks prefer exporting this into Excel, or others could use CSV if you wanted to import this into your own system or internal HIS system. Or if you're getting ready for a presentation or meeting, this can be easily exported into a PDF or PowerPoint file. So the same series of steps we ran, that was for one job, the accountant 3. Now let's take, for example, if we wanted to change jobs. Simply toggle by clicking the Families tab. Now PayNet remembers your given criteria at that session, so it's going to default to Finance and Accounting, as we can see here. Let's change jobs now. We can choose Marketing as an example, and click Next. Since we've chosen Marketing, we are now under the job model matrix for marketing. Again, similar to Finance and Accounting, where we have specific subfamilies related to marketing along with the job titles and job codes. So let's say, for example, we want a market price and market communication manager. Click on the hyperlink as you would before. Comment through job pricing approach. Make sure you have a good 80% match. If this is a good match, indicate you'd like this job by the checkbox. And click Next. So PayNet already has defaulted base salary, total cash, and target incentive payment, so we can generate results. Now, as I've gone through this the second time, we went a lot quicker, knowing that's the same series of steps. And then once we get to results, we have the same options of saving it to a batch, transforming it, or exporting it. Now, let's take an example of saving some time and exporting it into one Excel file. We can add this to a batch. So with those two jobs, that's an example of how you would use the job pricing approach. Now let's say, for example, you'd want to try job mapping. Now again, job mapping is the intersection of the actual Hay Group family and reference level. So a specific box within that matrix. Let's change the spin dial to job mapping and click Next. Again, same series of steps. We can now choose our family. Let's go back to the Finance and Accounting position and let everything else default. And we'll click Next. Now you would expect at this point with a job pricing approach to see the job model matrix. Now it's a little bit different here, where we still have the same subfamilies in the top, and we still have hyperlinks contained within the matrix. The main difference is we no longer see job titles and job codes. However, what we do see is a series of level indicators. So we can take any one of these as an example, click on the hyperlink, and this is specifically helpful if you're unable to find a good benchmark job using the standard job pricing approach. And A, either we have helped you through the job mapping exercise, or B, you're looking for like jobs within this family and reference level. So now what we're looking at is another window that gives us level characteristics, family characteristics, and subfamily characteristics. So here you can get a sense if your job is similar or not similar to this job within this box. So assuming your job fits this category, we can indicate so by indicating a checkbox and click Next. As we would expect, the compensation elements have been saved for us. Simply generate results. Now when we're back at our results page, we have a results view with our market data, the same 3 tabs available. Let's click Batch and Save and add this one to a batch. So very similar series of steps as you have taken to job pricing, but instead we had chosen job mapping and indicate family levels and characteristics. Let's go back to Approach now and try 2 other scenarios. Now, in an instance where you're familiar with Hay Group reference levels or grades, you're comfortable with them, or you have a job evaluation system in place, you can take advantage of the grade analysis approach. So this will give you all the jobs within all the reference levels. Click Grade Analysis and simply click Next. Here we still have the same families as shown before. Within the grade analysis, you can choose all families if you wish, so you could obtain reference level data for all families combined, or you can choose individual families if you wanted to compare each family to all families or within each other. More classes and more job modifiers are still available, and they'll always be empty for the US. But here you can select a custom grade. So if you have your grades lined up with Hay Group grades, you can easily store your grades and use at PayNet with your grades in place. So let's choose again Finance and Accounting. We're going to pull all reference level data for Finance and Accounting. We'll use the entire family, and let's click Next. Again, now we're at the end where we're going to choose our compensation elements. PayNet remembers our criteria. We can change our weighting if we want. The new element to this page is now we have 2 preview buttons, more thumbnails. The first one will tell you by compensation elements. So within this preview, we'll see in order of our compensation elements from top to bottom: base salary, with the reference levels in descending order, and our percentiles at the top of our header. Or we can choose to preview by job level. So our reference levels here in descending order, and then our compensation elements across the top as our headers. And simply generate results. Now in a case of a grades-based query, if this was a relatively large query, we might be given the option to defer it. And if that's the case, you'll have an area where you can save it and name it as you wish, and then continue running additional analyses. So once we're done generating results, we now have our grades-based query, our market data table in the center, base salary at the top, all of our corresponding reference levels in descending order, our percentiles at the top. We now have 3 pages to view. Let's take a look at those. Our second page is our analysis criteria, like we would expect from our other approaches, followed by our market context report. Now, we still have the same options that we had at the top, and let's actually save this as a batch so we can export this at the end. But let's go back to the Interact tab. Now, we still have custom percentiles, increase, decrease data, and currency. So from within the market data table by reference level, we still have the same options at the top, but now we're able to generate line formula, generate a graph, and also enter in Hay points for spot pricing. These are new, specific to our grades-based approach. We didn't have these options before for job pricing or job mapping. And let's apply our changes. And you'll notice now that our 3 pages where our market table was now has grown to 7 pages. Second page, audit trail. Third page, our market context report. Now the fourth page is now a table that shows our slopes and intercepts. That's for our line formula. Total cash. The sixth page is our graphs for base salary and total cash. Within the x-axis are our standard Hay points. Y-axis are our salary levels. And then the last page is our data for base salary and total cash when I entered in 200 points for our spot market pricing. And simply reset to undo those changes. Now that's how you would run a grades-based approach. Let's now use our final approach. Over here in the bottom right corner, Hay Group point range. So you would then click on Hay Group point range and click next. In this case now we have a new tab, points, and you could enter in your high and low limits for your point range. And simply click next. Now, same thing as we've done before for our other approaches, you can now choose your family. You can use finance and accounting. And let's pull the database using the entire finance and accounting family, extracting points 300 to 400. Click next. We'll let it default to our compensation elements that we originally requested, and generate results. Nice thing you can see is PayNet's pretty intuitive. Once you run your first example, you're able to predict how to run your second and third examples. We're now taken to the results page. And here's our market data for our point ranges: base salary, total cash, target incentive payment, as well as our percentiles. Let's save this as a batch. We have 5 queries waiting. Now let's export the batch into our CSV file. Make sure your pop-up blocker is deactivated. Okay, so now within our Excel workbook, we have all the data using the examples we ran in today's training session. The first one listed here is our job mapping approach, defined by our job code or box code of finance and accounting and reference level 15. Our second example is our point range when I entered in 300 to 400 points. Here are our job pricing options, the accountant 3 and the market communications manager. Here is our grades-based analysis approach with all the reference levels in descending order. As you scroll over to the right-hand side, the next section is our market criteria. So again, our audit trail. And then our market data starts in column S, base salary, P90 for all of our examples, followed by target incentive for all percentiles, and then total cash for all percentiles. So now it's easy to further manipulate or import into your own system. The last area of PayNet, over here on the top left corner, preferences. When you click on preferences, you now have 3 further options. You can change your password. You can manage your custom grades. So when we were talking about a grades-based approach, you can store your grades here lined up with Hay Group reference levels. Or if you have users around the world, you can change the default language from English to any of the languages listed here. When you click Contact Us, it's our customer service phone number and email address, as well as our mailing address. You can give us feedback. Or when you click PayNet Help Files, you can download the global job model or actually download a PayNet Help manual similar to today's session. So this concludes our PayNet training. I encourage you to log on and try a few queries at your earliest convenience. And should you have any questions, you're welcome to contact your account manager directly. Thank you so much for your time.